Good morning, everyone. My name is Belinda Hooks, Market President for the Mountain Plains Minority Supplier Development Council. Want to welcome you to today's virtual Access to Capital Lunch and Learn event. You are in store for a real treat as we have some phenomenal speakers this morning that will be joining us. I get the pleasure to kick this off this morning and introduce our President and CEO of the Council, Mr. Stan Sena. Has been the president for 12 years at the council, from Denver, law degree from the University of Denver, and has held multiple executive positions. We are so very pleased to have Stan join us today as he brings greetings to this Access to Capital event. Stan.
Well, thank you, Belinda. I'll quickly just greet everyone. Thank you very much for those in attendance. I know you're looking forward to getting information as it might specifically relate to your circumstances and needs. And a special thank you to those that are presenting to us today. We appreciate your commitment to the council. We appreciate your expertise in your particular segment of that finance and capital industry. And I'm looking forward to hearing everything you have to say. So Belinda, let's get this thing going.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that, Stan. And again, welcome. This is a team council effort today. So you've heard a little bit from me. Now, I've asked Brittany West Ware, our Regional MBE Services Manager, as well as April Burdick, our Administrative Coordinator, to also help in giving the introductions today. And so, Brittany, if you would please introduce Mr. Alan Ramirez, that would be awesome. Thank you, Brittany.
My pleasure. So of course, Alan Ramirez is the Director of Lending for the Colorado Enterprise Fund, or the CEF. He actually had the opportunity to further the mission of the CES, which accelerated the community prosperity, basically by financing and supporting entrepreneurs and small business within Colorado. Within this role, he's also responsible for aligning loan products with market needs, cultivating and enhancing partner relationships, conducting financial analysis, and so much more. Alan is also fluent in Spanish and is currently an advisory board member with the Colorado Office of Economic Development and International Trade Minority Business Office. Without further ado, I would love for you to join me in welcoming Alan Ramirez of the Colorado Enterprise Fund. Welcome, Alan. You are perfect.
So sorry. Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. Yes, as Brittany had mentioned, I'm with Colorado Enterprise Fund, and I'll be sharing a little bit about access to capital with our loan fund. I'll be sharing it from the perspective of a community development financial institute. I think for many of you as business owners, it's important to understand what community development financial institutes can do for your business. Nebraska Enterprise Fund, I believe, is also certified as a CDFI. So it's an alternative to capital, and hopefully your process with us, if you've gone to banks, if you've tapped into friends and family or maybe equity as well, we might be a good alternative for your funding needs. So I'll be talking about that process a little bit this morning. Next slide, please. So we as a nonprofit are helping small businesses with loans as well as business consulting. And we've been doing that, providing those services since 1976. Since that time, we've funded over 3,000 businesses now. We've deployed over 100 million in capital. A big part of our focus is really impacting the community, meaning we're helping businesses that are underserved, businesses that cannot just walk into their bank and qualify for that startup loan, businesses that may not have access to friends and family where they can borrow funds or credit cards. And so these are all underserved businesses. So job creation is a big part of what we're looking for, or job retaining those jobs as well. And then as far as overall business coaching hours, we've offered almost over 30,000 in coaching hours to our customers. we're certified nationally by an organization called ARIS. And so we've got an A+ rating with them, the highest rating that you can receive. We're fortunate to be funded via the SBA through their microloan program and have been since the early 90s. And a member of our local member organization is the Opportunity Finance Network. So next slide, please. And so I'd mentioned a little bit about funding for small businesses and some of the options, and there's a pathway to funding. It's generally your own funds first as the business owner, potentially credit cards if you can access them, but those options can be expensive. Even private investors can be expensive. Your second option typically is going to be walking into a traditional bank. You know, a bank may have an SBA loan. Typically it's a 7A loan that they might be able to work with you on, possibly a conventional loan, or even again, some sort of a small line of credit. But if the banks can't help you out, where do you go as a third option? Who's that third lender that can help you? Typically it will be CDFIs. And in our case in Colorado, we're limited to only helping businesses within Colorado. But a group like ours, we have flexible terms, meaning that there are terms, if you're purchasing equipment or working capital, we might be able to extend that to 6-7 years so that the business has more cash flow and doesn't need to be repay that loan too aggressively. Terms on real estate, if we're looking at real estate, we can potentially offer up to 25 years. Sometimes lenders are looking for 20 years. So we like to call it patient capital, meaning we're going to extend the term so that you have additional cash flow. And then as I mentioned, and I'll go into more detail, separate of just the loans, the business coaching is a big part of our business model to help these businesses not only start, but also grow. So next slide, please. And so the loans that we offer, they're very small. We have a microloan program that starts at $1,000 and it's capped out at $50,000. But we also have a small business loan program where we're looking at $50,000 up to $1 million. And so, as I mentioned, the terms vary. We have programs, we have loans as small as 2.99% interest rate. For that smallest loan of $1,000, it would be our highest interest rate, which would be at 12%. So realistically, we will be slightly higher than the banks, but as a nonprofit, we're attempting to buy down the rate so that it is still a competitive rate. We are still putting our business in comfortable loan structures so that they can be successful with their loan payments and their business. And business advising services, again, I'll talk in more detail about that. Next slide, please. So some of the loan programs that we offer, I mentioned the microloans up to $50,000. I've mentioned small business loans up to $1 million. During COVID, we responded with a few relief products, meaning these were low doc loans intended to be quick turnaround so that customers could have the capital quickly. Those were loans up to $50,000. We also have community loan pools. So we partner with various counties and cities across the state. We've got 7 different loan pools right now, and we are essentially attempting to stimulate economic development in those areas. So as an example, Adams County, we have a revolving loan fund with them, loans up to $50,000, but we're incentivized to help businesses within Adams County access that capital. We also specialize in various loan programs for veterans. We have discounted rates for our veterans, access to healthy foods. If you're in an area that has low income, low access to grocery retail, we have low cost loans for those industries as well. Transforming Safety is a statewide program that we have here in Colorado. It's specific to Southeast Colorado Springs, an area that has been identified as low income and needs more economic stimulus. So we're very targeted in that area. And lastly, it's our microloans that I mentioned. What's not included in here is we also have loans for individuals that run their business through an individual tax ID number, ITIN. And we also have programs for businesses that are Black business owned. we have interest rates as low as 2.99%. So if you're running your business through an ITIN, we do have a program with loans at a 2.99% for 60 months. If you're a Black-owned business, same product, 2.99%. So these are initiatives that we have to help these specific targeted customers. And again, these are all discounted rates that we can help with. Next slide, please. We talked a little bit about COVID and just kind of our activities during that time. And just a quick recap, starting with PPP, that was a busy program for us. We're a staff of 30 people, but we helped just under 800 customers with PPP loans, or the PPP program, for 17.9 million. The average size loan is 23,000. So meaning these are the smaller sole proprietors, mom and pop businesses, but many of those that might have been overlooked in that timeline. For this year in 2021, we closed just over 1,300 applications for 34 million. Again, average loan size was 26,000. I mentioned the COVID relief loans that we had also started during COVID, and we closed just under 200 for 5.2 million. Just below here, these are grant programs that we're involved in. So historically, we've really only offered loans, but grants were something that we were able to support with. Energize Colorado was a statewide program. I believe it was approximately a dozen lenders that were involved, both in urban and rural areas. Our portion, we helped deploy 5.4 million to 443 small businesses. And then El Paso County, we had a specific grant program with them, deployed just over 13 million at 863 small businesses. The intent of this slide is really attempting to show you all as business owners that we can be nimble, we can be flexible, we can be responsive to business owners' needs. It's very much symbolic in terms of how we underwrite. Most CDFIs, our credit criteria is a little more flexible than traditional lenders. For credit, for example, the FICO score definitely matters, but we're really digging into how long ago if you have lower credit, how long ago those credit issues happened, and if you started to build some of that credit, are you on payment plans on that credit? And we also recognize that FICO doesn't necessarily, by no means does it define who we are. And so if we can mitigate the loan in other areas, we do. Cash flow is a big part of what we're looking at for many of you as small business owners. The ability to show that you can repay the loan is what we're looking at. We want to make sure we're helping that business, putting them again in a position to succeed, and again in a comfortable loan structure that they can afford. Collateral, we're flexible on that. We're fortunate to have partners here in Colorado that we can leverage in terms of if there's a shortage of collateral, there's a program that we can tap into that helps with that shortage of collateral. So we often use that if needed. And bottom line, we do a lot of character loans. It's really understanding our customers and their experience, understanding their vision, and their ability to really run and operate their company. So much of what we do are character loans. And because we've been doing this since the 70s, our strengths is really understanding risks and helping these customers, again, start and grow their businesses. Next slide, please. And the business coaching. One piece of running a company is of course having the capital that you guys need to start and grow. But another piece is just having is the business coaching and understanding all aspects of your company. So with the funding that we receive from the SBA, we call this business coaching technical assistance. But we're able to provide free one-on-one business advising to all of our customers, to our entire portfolio of customers. And so the support that we offer, a lot of it is around financial literacy, helping these businesses really understand their margins, helping them understand their cost of doing business, their cost of labor, their cost of material, how to read a balance sheet, really helping them when needed. We can look at marketing, SEOs, looking at your websites, looking at your social media, looking at your product mix, your messaging, your value proposition, little basics, as well as HR and legal. We've got legal firms that help us with pro bono support. So if you need guidance on maybe a new contract that you're working with the new agency, need a second set of eyes on that contract, we can help review that with our attorneys at no cost to you. We've had instances on lease agreements where some easy stuff, but if the customer doesn't have support, it's a challenging issue for them. But one example was a Spanish-speaking client. They had a leak that was coming through from the external side of the building and the roof. Landlord was playing hardball, making it difficult, wouldn't make the adjustments to seal that. They were losing inventory. It was dangerous because the leak was in a central area of the facility. And so one letter from our attorneys got that solved for them in less than 2 weeks. And so the idea is really on the business coaching is we're just a soundboard to help that business owner really not be alone, have some guidance, help them with maybe projections and some of the other areas that I mentioned. But the bottom line is access to capital is key to running a successful business, but really understanding your entire model as you grow and move into different phases is key as well. So, next slide. And so that's just a quick recap on our organization. As I mentioned, I would say for any small business, I think it's important to do the research, definitely talk to your banks. But when the banks cannot do it, I think please keep in mind CDFIs are a great alternative for you. It's very hands-on in terms of understanding your business model, your background, and what the needs are. And I just think it's great support for you guys as you're growing your companies. So if you have any questions, please feel free to email or call me directly. Thanks so much.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Alan. We do have a question for you. So the question was, do you lend to technology startups?
We have lent to technology startups, yes. We can definitely help with that. Feel free to email or call me and we can definitely talk through that.
Perfect. Well, if you guys have any more questions for Alan in the interim, please make sure you're putting them in the chat. Alan, we're so grateful for you to be able to give us this presentation. And April, if it's possible, can we go back to the previous slide so that they can get his contact information in the interim? Perfect. Again, Alan Ramirez, the Director of Lending for Colorado Enterprise Fund. We're grateful for you to give us this access to capital and to give us more information, especially in the Colorado area. And we're just grateful for you to be able to share your expertise. So thank you so much.
Thank you guys.
And without further ado, I'm going to introduce April Burdick. She is also our administrative coordinator here for the NPMS DC, and she will be doing our next introduction.
All right, hello everyone. We're so excited for you to be here. I'm going to introduce our next speaker. He's Steve White with the Small Business Administration. Steve White is the lead lender relations specialist for the Colorado District Office of the U.S. Small Business Administration. Steve began working for the SBA as a lender relations specialist in the Colorado District Office back in 2013. Steve's experience with the SBA began in 1995 while working as a commercial loan packager for a privately owned bank in Tennessee. Steve also has a residential mortgage lending background as well. If you could all join me in welcoming Steve White with the Small Business Administration.
Hi, everyone. Hi, April. Thank you so much for the introduction. Definitely greetings to Mr. Stan and Miss Belinda. I really appreciate everyone and their time for being here with us today. I wanted to bring you a couple of updates from the United States Small Business Administration, especially in a way I feel that many would be interested in some of our Paycheck Protection Program or PPP numbers and the COVID EIDL or Economic Injury Disaster Loan updates as well. I just wanted to mention that for PPP, and Alan talked about this a little bit. So nationally speaking, over the last year and a half, we've been able to issue or work with over 11.8 million PPP loans, and we're able to award through that process over 800 billion with a B, dollars. And we did that using lenders near you. We used over 5,400 different or unique lenders in order to roll that program out. And I bring that up to say that in a normal non-pandemic, non-COVID year, say for example in 2015 or 2010 or in 1990, SBA routinely uses somewhere between 1,000 and 1,200 different lenders. So for us to use 5,400 lenders means we were reaching out across the nation and lenders at every level, large banks, names that you would recognize, local, small, regional banks, credit unions, and other lending facilities were really doing a great job stepping up. Our CDFI programs across the nation, including Colorado Enterprise Fund, called us day of the program news and said, hey, how can we participate? And they jumped on. They were early in that. So Alan, many thanks to you and your team for providing top-notch service. Also, for many of you, you may have questions about the Economic Injury Disaster Loan, or commonly called the EIDL or COVID EIDL. Initially, we rolled that program out. So for any business, right, which is practically every business that was affected or disaffected by the pandemic, and you could show a revenue reduction as a result of that, you were able to apply for up to $150,000. And that's not a grant, it's a loan. It's a 30-year low interest rate loan in order to sort of get you over the hump, so to speak, because we realized that our revenue is kind of walking out the door, but you maintained expenses. You still had payroll, you still had previous existing contracts and vendors and suppliers that you had to work with. And so in order to help you maintain that, we offered this program. Well, that program has recently been increased to $500,000. So even if you've already applied for it and received an EIDL loan, if you'd like to apply for an EIDL increase up to $500,000, you can. If you have not applied for that program and you think, well, maybe we would fit into that, I would highly encourage you, please go to www.sba.gov, or just if you Google SBA, make sure it's got the .gov behind it, and at the very top you'll see resources for COVID, and that'll lead you down the whole branch or tree of COVID EIDL, PPP, Restaurant Revitalization Fund, Shuttered Venues program, and many of the sub-programs underneath that, and you can get there. Now, so working for the Small Business Administration, as a federal agency, we get to define a couple of things, and one of those is what is a small business? And a small business probably is you. Most businesses in the country are quote unquote small. A small business is independently owned and operated. It's organized for profit. It conducts legal activities. So for those of you who are on today from the great state of Colorado, as you know, Colorado allows for industry in the Schedule I arena that we preclude, so we're not able to do that. And that's just a fancy way of saying we cannot finance marijuana businesses. And if 51% or more of your operations take place physically within the states, we pretty much consider you an eligible business. Now, what's it mean to be small? A couple of different ways to define that. We actually define it by NAICS code, or NAICS, the North American Industrial Classification System. And so for each NAICS code, there is a different number, but generally speaking, a small business looks like this: 500 employees or less, and 5 million in average annual receipts or less. And again, there are exceptions to that rule. If you have questions about whether or not you're eligible or small, please feel free to contact me directly. I've got an easy email. It's stephen.white@sba.gov. Stephen with a V and a white like the color. Stephen.white@sba.gov, and I'll be able to answer that question for you. Next slide, please. So what would you say you do here? Here's the 6 things that we concentrate in. First is counseling and training. We work with a bevy of resource partners across the nation. We work with the Small Business Development Center. There is one of those in every single state. They operate independently. So depending on what state you're in, you'll want to contact the one that's near you. And we also work with SCORE, which is a national organization as well. And what the Small Business Development Center, or SBDC, and SCORE, what they do is they provide direct one-on-one business counseling, coaching, teaching, and mentoring. And this is for the entrepreneur or potential entrepreneur who's at that level where you're just kicking the tires, you're trying to check things out to see if you want to dip your toe into the business waters or not, all the way to the seasoned executive who's been in business for a while, and maybe you own several businesses and you're thinking of fill in the blank, hiring additional staff, or maybe you're looking to franchise, or you're looking to scale or grow or buy a commercial property, accounting, advertising, what have you, whatever your business need is. Between our resource partners and other organizations with whom we work, we can find you the counseling and training you need that's on time and accurate and actually addresses the question that you're actually asking. We also help with government contracting, that is helping you cross the T's and dot the I's whenever you apply for a national or federal contract with Uncle Sam. You may or may not know this, but Uncle Sam is the single largest consumer of products, goods, and services in the history of this planet Earth, with no close second. So if you're a small business, I would encourage you, as you were to draw out your revenue pie, as it were, to make one of those slices a federal government contract. And you can do that with the help of the Small Business Administration as far as getting started and having all the right things in place, capability statements and things like that. A third way we help is through financing, and that's specifically what I do as a lead lender relations specialist. Is I work directly with borrowers and lenders across the state of Colorado. And in the state that you're in today, there's a lead lender relations specialist who does the same thing. So I have brother and sister lender relations specialists across the nation, including all U.S. territories, that will help you find the right lender for your program. Because our job is to make sure that we get you into a loan program that fits you. There's no win to just get a loan and now you're trapped and you've got something you owe and you don't have the revenue to pay for that. That's not what we're looking to do. What we're looking to do is make sure you've got the capital, right? That's money invested for an immediate return, that's invested properly. And that's the way to look at a loan too, is investing, having someone invest in your product, good, or service. A fourth way we help borrowers is through a disaster assistance. And we talked briefly already about the economic injury disaster loan and the PPP loan. And there are other programs too for either natural, national, or state level declared emergencies. We are able to provide assistance. A good example happened literally just days ago here in Colorado. A large swath or section of Interstate 70, which I think crosses through many of the Mountain Plains states, was bombarded with boulders from a rock slide. So of course that is going to cut off access, little physical access to many of our businesses out there. So the state of Colorado is going to apply for a disaster assistance loan specific to that disaster. So what I'm saying there is your business can either be directly or indirectly affected by a declared disaster and still receive the opportunity to get a low interest 30-year term loan in order to get you past that disaster period. We also work directly with the United States Export Assistance Center to help folks export their product, good, or service, whether you're sending it as far away to an exotic place like, Canada, or you're sending it to someplace in the middle of Europe or South America, wherever it is you're shipping your product, either directly or indirectly. We can help you bridge the cultural, language, and monetary and legal barriers that might scare off many investors and potential entrepreneurs. And the final major way in which we help entrepreneurs is through advocacy. And what that looks like is this: is basically we have at the SBA our team of lawyers kind of camped outside the halls of Congress, helping them to pass legislation that's not going to be broad brush sweeping legislation. It's going to affect small businesses the way it would affect large businesses. So making sure that the small business has a level playing field. Next slide, please. And so the resource partners I talked about before, the ones on this slide are specific to Colorado. You'll have exactly the same sort of resource partner quiver as you will in your state too. But we, as I said before, we work with SCORE. We work with the Colorado Small Business Development Center Network. And here, unique to Colorado, is a really neat program out of MICASA, the Women's Business Resource Center. Next slide, please. We talked about this already, doing business for the federal government. Next slide. And I want to kind of camp out on this. We won't go through all the slides today. I won't insult your intelligence. I'm sure you can read and probably speak at a much better level than I can. But what we do at the SBA is we offer what's called a loan guarantee. So outside of disasters, we don't provide a direct loan. We provide the guarantee for a commercial loan. So what that means is you're a small business and you realize you need more capital in order to operate your business or pay for expenses or costs, salaries, that sort of thing, than you have in your back pocket. Well, welcome to life. That's probably the situation for all of us. So what do? Well, there's two ways. You can either seek investors and increase your ownership in your business, which is a valid path. Or if you're thinking, I'd actually like to stick with the investor group and ownership group that I have and seek a small business commercial loan, then that's exactly where we come in. And what we do is we work directly with the lender to provide on the backside of a commercial loan deal for a small business. And what we do is we provide a guarantee. And so somewhere, depending upon the loan program, somewhere between 50% and 90% of the outstanding balance for that commercial loan will guarantee to the lender. And what that means is we're telling the lender, hey, regardless of what happens with this business, so long as you've done your due diligence, you've crossed your T's, you've dotted your I's, we're going to make sure and secure 50 to 90% of that balance. And that's going to allow the lender to take a risk that maybe they couldn't otherwise take. Maybe your loan, because it is a startup or it's a first-time loan, or maybe you don't have the lending or credit history with this bank or credit union, you're not able to get into a normal program. So they'll take you through a guarantee program like the SBA. And what that allows them to do is it frees them up to make that loan to you. And on the backside, that guarantee does not count against the federally required loan loss reserve requirement for the lender, which means it frees up their money to continue lending. So they actually receive a direct benefit by offering this guarantee to you. And of course, you receive the benefit as a small business owner by receiving the capital or the loan that maybe you would not have been able to get without that guarantee. Now, these loan amounts do have some limits. There's a limit up to $5 million outstanding per business borrower. These loans are for any business, whether you're a startup and you're brand new or you're a long-time existing business and have been in business for decades. We also offer these loans through community advantage programs, which means a community advantage lender, for example, Colorado Enterprise Fund, would be able to loan to businesses specifically that are rural, minority-owned, woman-owned, service-disabled, veteran-owned, or a protected program owner, someone who comes from a socioeconomic disadvantaged background. They're going to have an advantage in the community advantage lending program. And again, we talked about our export assistance programs as well, where we offer special guarantee rates and financing for businesses who are exporting their product, good, or service overseas. Another way we help is with the microloan program that Alan has excellently spoke about already and kind of laid out the parameters of that. But that's a loan up to $50,000. Because as you know, many of us, as we're starting out, we don't need a $5 million loan or even a $500,000 loan. We're at a much smaller rate. And so we kind of fall through the cracks or the gaps. Many of you may have found out already, for most commercial lenders, it's rather prohibitive to loan a business less than $100,000, meaning that regardless of the interest rate, they're not going to be able to make an ROI for that loan program. So they're not super friendly to a smaller size loan in and of itself or by itself. So this is where our CDFIs, our mission-based lenders, our micro lenders, and intermediaries, such as Colorado Enterprise Fund, really step up to the plate to make sure the businesses don't fall through the cracks. And then I know time is running short here. I want to talk about one more program that I think is the best kept secret in all of commercial lending, and that is our 504 program. Again, the 504 program. What that program is that program is designed specifically for small businesses who want to purchase commercial real estate or large fixed equipment. And that allows them to bring as little as 10% down to the deal. It's a three-party deal between the borrower, a CDC or certified development company, and a third-party lender, which is a lender of your choice. And so between a certified development company, there's 4 here in Colorado, there are some in your state where you're at as well, and a lender of your choice, they will provide the rest of the financing while you bring a very small amount down. There are some caveats to that. For example, if you qualify as a startup business, there's an extra 5%, so it would be 15. Or if it's a single or unique use property, for example, think car wash. A car wash can pretty much only be a car wash. It cannot be easily converted to, say, a gas station or a theater. There's an extra 5% there as well. And if you're both of those, if you're a startup car wash, you'd be 20%. But otherwise, the remaining financing is brought to the table. Thank you for sharing this slide too, by the third-party lender who provide up to 50% of the financing, and the certified development company, which is an SBA endorsed program, will provide the remaining of that. And that's a great way for you as a small business owner to actually purchase commercial real estate or large fixed equipment with bringing an extremely amount of equity, extremely small amount of equity to the table as compared to a traditional commercial loan. So again, Stan and Belinda and everyone, thanks so much for your time today. I really appreciate being on here, especially sharing this time with such an esteemed panel. Thanks so much, and I'll hang around for questions.
Hey, Steve, thank you so much. That was some great information that you shared. We did have a question come across. What is the length of time to secure an SBA loan, the guarantee loan, from applying to securing?
Okay, so the program start to finish, day one, you walk into the lender or click onto the lender's website to the day of closing. I'm afraid to say it's going to vary, so I can't really give you a standard answer. Probably what takes the longest amount of time in a commercial loan is exactly what takes the longest amount of time in a residential loan, which is the appraisal. If an appraisal is required for that program, then those typically tend to draw it out. But if you walk in, you've got your ducks in a row, you got your paperwork and documentation, all that sort of thing. Depending upon which program you're in, you're looking at as little as 2 weeks, realistically, to as long as a month and a half. If you're past a month and a half getting a loan, then something's really wrong there. And I'd say that's exactly when you'd want to email me at stephen.white@sba.gov and say, hey, Steve, you talked a lot of good stuff about this program. I'm a month and a half in and don't have my funds. What's going on? And hopefully that's where I come in on sort of the backside and sort of a shake list of branches and that kind of thing. For a good SBA loan, you don't even know that I exist. That's when everything goes right. So I pretty much come in when things aren't going super well. And that's unfortunately, that's just the way of things, but that's what you as the taxpayer pay me to do. And God bless you. I take my hat off to entrepreneurs and small business people, and I'll bend over backwards to help you get where you need to go.
Second question, does the SBA have loan programs for businesses which are in pre-revenue stage? If so, whom can we contact?
Yes and no. So a business like that, you're in a pre-revenue stage. So I'm assuming you've established yourself with your Secretary of State. You've got your investors, maybe your vendor suppliers lined up on one hand, potential customers. that kind of thing, but you're not quite operational yet. Those businesses are exactly the ones that you probably want to consider either our microloan industry or a mission-based industry. And those, for a list of those that operate in your area, please contact me and I can get you to the right person in your geographical area to provide you a list of folks who might be able to potentially assist with that.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Again, we just want to thank you so much for being here and sharing with our MBEs what the SBA is and how you can help them in getting their business going or moving forward. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Brittany to introduce our next speaker. Thank you again.
Perfect. Steve, that was such a wealth of knowledge. We're so grateful for you. Up next, we have none other than the illustrious Theodis Watson. Theodis is actually a native of the Kansas City, Missouri area, and he serves as the Assistant Vice President and Community Business Relationship Manager for Central Bank of the Midwest. Theodis serves as the Western Vice President of the Urban Financial Services Coalition, which partners with chapter presidents from Kansas City, Puget Sound, San Francisco, and Omaha. He also serves on the board of the United Inner City Services, where it's an organization that actually created the strength and health and vitality of neighboring communities by providing family assistance programs to early childhood care services. Theodis is a certified FDIC Money Smart Alliance trainer for personal and business, facilitating financial workshops in local communities and obviously internationally. Theodis is married to his beautiful wife, Yvonne, and he has 3 amazing children who are all ages 4, 7, and 20. We are so grateful to have Theodis here with us. And without further ado, the next voice you will hear after mine will be Theodis Watson.
Thank you, Brittany. And yeah, I probably should have minimized that a little bit. But thank you for that. You did an excellent job. But just want to introduce myself. I am Theodis Watson, with Assistant Vice President with a Community Business Relationship Manager with Central Bank of the Midwest, which very soon, as of October, will just be Central Bank. And a little bit about Central Bank. We are a regional bank. About Central Bank of the Midwest is roughly around a little less than $5 billion in total assets. But Central Bank Holding Company is right around $18 billion there. But great organization. Very excited to be here. My role, as this long title states, Community Business Relationship Manager, is mainly a commercial lender, and also I work primarily with small business, and glad to hear Steve and Alan on the call, but I work with the SBA activities as well for the bank. So very awesome here. And again, as I mentioned, UFSC, Urban Financial Services, is a national organization. Ultimately, it's just a mission to educate, support, and also be able to develop more leaders in the C-suite positions within the financial service industry. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Next slide. So brief statement here. Norman Banks talks about safe harbor statement. This is my thoughts and comments. This is not for legal advice, but I am going to share some experiences, and basically you just won't come back and sue me if I say something you don't like. So next slide there. True or false? Bankers love nothing more than helping people turn their dreams into reality. And that is such a true statement. And just like with all the partners on this call, you may have heard misconceptions about banks are not here for, various people, various communities, which some of that could be possibly true depending on who you are, what your experience was. But most importantly, and mostly, most banks are here to support. We love seeing people turn their dreams into reality and being extremely successful with their business endeavors. So next slide. So why does small business matters? Why are you so important? Just a few little statistics here. There are almost 28 million small businesses in the US, and over 22 million are self-employed with no additional payroll or employees. So those are really old self-employed small businesses, which is a major number. Small businesses have generated over 65% of the net new jobs since 1995. Very important, right? 7 out of 10 new employer firms survive at least 2 years, half at least 5 years, and the third at least 10 years, and a quarter stay in business 15 years or more. And again, as Mr. White mentioned, my hats are off to you all. You all have a difficult task ahead of you. But again, we appreciate what you all are doing, employing individuals and creating change in respective industries, and it's so phenomenal. But also, according to 2019 annual business survey covering reference year 2018, approximately 18.3 or 1 million of U.S. businesses were minority owned, and about 19.9%, 1.1 million of those businesses were owned by women. So kudos to the women on the call. Kudos to you women entrepreneurs out there doing some phenomenal work, and looking forward to seeing how far we go. So let's dive in. Next slide, please. Topics for today. So I'll be talking a little bit about relationship building, why you're a banker and you matter, bank expectations and why, because I think that's very important for you all to know, hey, what our expectations are. And again, these are general expectations. Every bank has their flavor and their requirements, but generally we kind of like these certain expectations. And then of course we can open it up for questions. Next slide, please. So relationship building, why you and your banker matter. And I say you and your banker matter because we wouldn't have a banker if it wasn't for our clients, right? You all are very important to the cycle. And just as if you are wanting our products and services, we want your business, right? So just always keep that in the back of your mind as you're hearing this presentation and as you're doing your business. It's a give and take relationship, and both parties matter in this case. So when you hear the word relationship, what does that mean to you? So I think of trust, right? I'm thinking of a give and take relationship. I'm thinking of a partnership. I'm thinking of value, bringing value to one another. And so those things are very important. And so when I talk about relationship, and I heard Mr. White and Alan talk about the PPP program, that was so important during this past year. Our bank was able to do, roughly over 369 million loans, about $369 million in loans, and roughly around a little less than 4,000 loans in general. And we were lucky enough to be number one in Missouri, number 2 in Kansas City, number 1 in Lawrence, number 66 in the nation out of 5,000 plus lenders. But I'll talk about the relationship piece. I was leading that for our bank, so we're very excited about that. But you just don't know how many phone calls I was getting about 2 in the morning, 4 in the morning of people who just couldn't get in contact with their bank. And they called me because they knew someone who knew me or whatever the situation was. And we were able to get them that money when the time and during that need. So it's very important that not only you know who your banker is, but if your banker knows you or developing that relationship is very key. And those words where I talked about trust, give and take, partnership, that is a twofold approach. That's for your banker to provide that to you and you to provide that to your banker. We talk about understanding and roles and expectations. When you go into a bank and you're trying to develop a relationship or your current relationship, think about what that means and what matters to you. So you want your bank to have those same qualities, trust, expectations, and understanding what is needed to do whatever service that you may need, right? So if you're looking at a loan, understanding what that process is. When you are looking for that relationship, is it just for an advisory role? Is it looking for, to get a product or service out of the bank? Is it for mentorship? Because your banker should be doing all of that. Understanding what that role and expectation is between you and your bank is very important, and be open with that. And I think that's very important. Your bank has a lot of resources like the CDFIs and SBA that we can leverage and partner with you and point you in that direction to be able to help you grow in your business. Find the right relationship, because not everyone will have your best interest. And so I say that because not every bank has their own appetite for whatever it is that they do. They may need it they may do loans in real estate or C&I business or restaurants. So they may have these type of appetites for lending, but you may be in some type of appetite where they may not do in lending. You may be in an industry where they may not do that lending focus. Don't hold your banker to that. As long as they're still following up, taking care of business, being a resource for you, keep that going because that's very important. But also ask for resources because your banker should be able to say, hey, we don't do these type of loans, but you should maybe consider this bank because that's some things that we should be doing on our end. Honesty. I can't say that enough. Your banker should be honest with you, even if you don't like the answers. You should be honest with your banker, even if he or she doesn't like that answer. I think it's very important for that because, building a relationship in that capacity is so important. So honesty is so important. So if you have something that might affect our credit decision that we need to know up front, let us know. Get us in the loop because we may be able to twist that to make it sound much better than what it is, or even down or be able to get over that hurdle because we understand you, we understand the situation. Preparation. I can't talk about this enough. So when I talk about that expectation, time is money with bankers and time is money with small businesses. So when your banker asks for, hey, you want to do a certain loan and you need X, Y, and Z, please bring X, Y, and Z, to the banker. Because that's one way we need to move your file forward. If you bring us A, B, and C, unfortunately, that could belabor your loan file. We may not be able to get you approved. And so when we are asking for these various things, being very prepared, understanding the business, understanding your ebbs and flows of the business, cash flow. I heard that today. Very important things to understand and know, and your banks, and just be prepared to ask those questions. Again, same thing with your banker. Your banker should be prepared for you when you come in for that conversation. And then execution of deliverables. I think really just holding one another accountable. Again, if your banker asks for you to do X, Y, and Z, just make sure you try to do X, Y, and Z. And if you cannot do X, Y, and Z, let them, he or she, know why, and maybe we can kind of get over that. But again, if we just ask for, we want to build that relationship of trust, time is everything, and we want to be able to support you with whatever you may have. Spread the good news and share with others. Your bank should be telling people about your business. Your bank should go out there and support you, and vice versa. If you have a good relationship with the bank or with another institution, we encourage you to share referrals, give us, information that we can share and help someone else. That's one way of building that relationship, because obviously the more money you make, the more money the bank makes, everybody's happy. They're more inclined to continue to support. And sometimes we don't even need to make money. We just like helping people and getting them to accomplish their goals. But if we can really help some people, share the good news of what your banker is doing. And that's really been successful on our end. Next slide. Typical bank expectations, and I know we're short on time, but again, a lot of this is very basic, and a lot of you all may know this, but most banks, specifically for, let's say, a conventional loan, we like to do 2 or 3 years in business. We want to make sure that the individual understands, he or she knows, understanding your business. Do you have a business plan? Have you done your research? Do you understand the cash flow? Financial reports are readily available. So, we would like to collect timely financials when we need them, at the end of the year or, after quarter end, if you need to provide financials by that time frame, as that was specified in the loan documents, provide that because that will continue to help build that positive relationship with that banker. Completion of financial packets. So if you're asking for funds or looking to do a product, provide that personal financial statement. What's on that personal financial statement is very important. Financials, making sure you understand your financials of the business. And again, when I ask for A to Z, just provide us A to Z. Now, if you have questions about, certain products or certain documents within that A to Z, we just ask you to let us know so we can answer them, or we can provide you with a small business development center or a partner or someone who can help you with that. We do encourage you to know your business, understand the ins and outs of your business. You won't know everything about it, but generally want you to know as much as you can. Have sufficient collateral assets. You understand there might be an equity injection requirement. You just be prepared for that. Adequate credit reporting. Again, make sure that your credit is right on the personal side. I hear, hey, I got business credit. Does that matter? Absolutely, that matters, but your personal credit is equally important, if not more. And then follow through with commitments. Again, if we, banks, and again, if the banks ask for certain things, just make sure you provide that. That's a great way of continuing to build that relationship with your banker. Next slide. And then lastly, just the 5 C's of credit lending. We talked about that, but character is a very key piece to that. It's one of those you can't quantify, but again, being honest, sharing your experiences, helping us help you. What I like to say to my clients is very important. And then the other 5 C's are equally important. Next slide there. And then these are ecosystems. So what I like to do is always provide an ecosystem with my businesses. So we got obviously the area SBDCs. I guess I should have had Colorado up there. I'm sorry. But we got SCORE, we got Women Business Center, we got the Veterans Center, and of course, Mountain Plains. It's been a great partner. Really your bank should have these resources, or should be able to direct you to some other resources that may not be named. But it's very important that you all have an honest relationship. You all understand what's going on. You have a good relationship with telling each other what's going on, so your banker can help you get whatever product, whatever need that you may have, and I'll refer you to someone else. But I really appreciate everyone's time. Appreciate the Mountain Plains putting this on. Brittany, thank you for the ask. And again, here's my contact information, office and cell number. And we'll love to talk to any small businesses that may have questions about how they can further their business or anything that I have not discussed or discussed in this panel. But thank you, Brittany, and I appreciate the time.
My pleasure. Thank you so much, Theodis. You really touched on a bunch of things that the council is really trying to implement, which is really building those relationships to make things stronger. And of course, the relationship with your banker is probably one of the best relationships you can have because they help with the financials. So thank you for that fiscal aptitude for us. We're grateful for you and really grateful for you to continuously support the council and all the information that you have provided us thus far. Of course, we would be remiss without further information. So April, please take it away with our final section of our panel. And we're just grateful for all of our attendees as well. We did have one question for you, Theodis. How does a bank service a small startup company? So what would be the best way for that bank to service a small startup company? And you're muted, sorry.
I had to be that one, didn't I? Okay, so really service is a key word. I would say really providing them with resources to help them grow. So, okay, get your depository products ready to go. If you're a startup, new business, maybe getting you a business credit card so you can establish business credit that way. A lot of business credit cards don't require collateral. Maybe just going off of your personal credit, give you about $5,000 to $10,000, $15,000 line of credit to kind of help you get you rolling. Connecting you with other businesses and support systems like the Small Business Development Center. If you need a loan, if you are pre-revenue stage, get you to a CDFI or get you to some of these other micro lending firms to help you do that. So obviously after year 1, year 2, you're not considered a startup. Now you're talking about other lending products. You may need payroll services. You may need other items that we can add and offer. But I would say, again, the service what a bank can do is really providing you with the necessities, meaning, the deposits, maybe a business credit card, and then offering other services in our community that can help support that business.
Perfect. And then one more question, and this deals with relationships. Are there any red flags that a small business owner should see in order to know that maybe they should look at a different banking institution?
That's a great question, right? It's challenging, and obviously I'm a banker, so I love all my bankers, but I know there's bad police, there's bad bankers, there's everything, right? So I would say that, one red flag is really, you can look at what has that bank done in the community, right? If you are big on supporting the minority community, is that bank supporting, sorry, I thought I had my phone on mute here at work. But if your bank is not supporting in that community, that could be a red flag. Not saying that that's a bad thing, but what are they doing in that community or not? I'll say a number 2, time, right? If you call up a bank or, retail branch and say, hey, I want to talk to a small business banker, if that lender act like they don't have time or they're moving or whatever, you need to maybe find another bank. The reason why I say that is because we want your business just like you want our products and services. So time, if that banker is not willing to spend 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes on the time just to give you your time as far as answer your questions, that's a big red flag. If they feel like they're just too busy or keep passing you along, honestly, I say find another bank. And because it's our fiscal responsibility to be that support system for small businesses. And so that's a key indicator there to see what they're doing either in the community or if they give you that time that you deserve.
I love that. I love that. Thank you so much for answering our questions. We appreciate you. April, go ahead.
Hello, I'm excited to introduce our final speakers from the Nebraska Enterprise Fund. We have BC Clark, who is the Director of Training and Client Development. She has been with the Nebraska Enterprise Fund for 5 years. Before getting into that position, she spent 30 years in information technology. However, her heart's desire was always to consult, train, and empower business owners and women. She serves to provide training, mentoring, and business consulting. She is very involved with the community and with other organizations within the city. Her niche is training with the NEF, providing space and opportunity for business workshops that assist business owners. Along with her, we also have Jim. Jim is currently the Executive Director of the Nebraska Enterprise Fund, a certified CDFI serving small and micro businesses across the Nebraska and Southwest Iowa. Jim has spent over 20 years in the economic development field, focused on micro and small business financing and development. He started full-time work in the economic field at the Northeast Nebraska Economic Development District as a loan and community development officer. Please join me in welcoming Steve and BC Clark. Sorry, Jim and BC Clark. I apologize.
Thanks, April. And thanks to MSDC for even allowing us to participate today. We're excited about that. And I'll get started right away. I know our time is short and in our 15 minutes, we want to make sure we give some good points. Jim will be talking about alternative financing, but I'm going to talk a little bit about what we need to do before we get to that point of going for the ask of looking for funding. And I want to talk specifically to our credit report, our credit history, and how important that is to make sure that we keep that intact. So what do we need to do? And usually I've had individuals that would come, MBs that would come, or someone that's just starting out and they'll say, well, I want to launch my business in 1 year. I mean, that's a perfect time to, if you've done your research and you have all that data, to start looking at your credit history to identify what things in there that you may need to change. And so going through building credit as an asset, what will allow us to be able to look at all those things and put things in perspective. So it takes about 30 to 60 days to change something once you've made a change on your credit. So if you're trying to clean it up, it'll take 31 to 60 days to make sure that that's cleaned up. So I want to give you some pointers. The one thing I can tell you that is that we need to know what the score is. I have a lot of clients that come and they'll say, well, I don't know what my credit score is. I don't even know what it looks like. I've never pulled my report. We all know that at least once a year you can get that credit report. Now, it's important to know what's on it because if the fraud on there, especially if it's a low number. I've had lots of people that have come in and with 500 and 600 scores. And the problem is that half the stuff on there wasn't even there. So go and pull that credit report. It's free. It doesn't ding your score once you pull it. Now, it's important to know what it is. And this is why I say that. Because if you don't know what it is, how do you know what to do to get it up? So if you know you have a low score, even though you haven't seen it, most people tell me that, oh, my score is really low. Well, how do you know? Well, I don't know. I just know it's low because I made some mistakes. Well, let's see what it is and let's address it. So knowing the score is really important. What is that score? All right, now what do I need to do to start moving that in the right direction? So know your score. So pull your credit report, look at what's on it. If you don't understand how to read it, you can come into any bank or CDFI and they'll be more than happy to go through that with you. We have a specific office here where we'll work with, we're doing credit building and with our clients, but we're also doing some counseling as well to help people get their credit back on track. Because once it's on track, then we begin to build. Your credit can be an asset, but there's things you need to do to make sure that it's one. And so you want to know your score. You want to be able to read it, understand what's on there and what things you need to clear up and take care of. You want to deal with the debt. Whatever that debt is, it's not going to go away. And although things may write off, it's still going to impact you whenever you go into the bank. So you want to make sure that you're dealing with whatever debt you have. And if it's sometimes I've seen credit reports and it's just $300-400 or $100 here, just stuff that you left on there. So make sure that you go out and take care of all of these things so that when you do get to the bank, you don't have to be anxious or nervous that you're not going to get it. Let's take care of everything we need to do so that when we go to the bank, we're confident that we've answered all the questions. We have our credit intact. We have a good score. So when we get there, it's just a matter now of making sure whatever the banker is asking you to provide, you want to provide those documents. The other thing I would say is it's hugely important to develop a relationship before you need to go to the bank. And you don't have to go to the bank just for money, just to borrow. You can go to ask questions, and the same with CDFIs. I mean, there's services there that are for you that doesn't cost any money. So if you want to be able to really understand your credit, be able to deal with your debt, don't be afraid to have a relationship. Theodis talked about this, and this is huge. We have a workshop that's called How to Develop a Relationship with the Banker, because it's important. And for a CDFI, we want you to come here, but we want you to go to the bank and get the better rates. However, if you can't, we will get you to that point and then send you that way. But there are things you can do now that will help you before you have to do that. Make credit building count. So if you know that, and I'll tell you a couple of keys. If you've gotten your score, so maybe you're at 650 or what have you. How do I get that score higher? Well, you need to have a mix of installment and revolving credit. Installment credit is car loans, house loan, those types of things. That's something that has a balance every month. It has a beginning and an end to it. That's installment credit, okay? And you pay the same amount for this every month. That's an installment loan. You need to have your revolving, which is your credit cards and some of those things. So with both of those and doing the right things, you can get your score up there. Once your score is at a particular amount, 800, whatever, then that credit becomes an asset to you. Your cash is already king, but your credit becomes an asset. And so I just want to talk about a couple things that we can do, because once we begin to credit build, we want to make sure that we look at the goal. What is the goal for you, for your credit? Some people say, well, I want to be at 850 or I want to do this. So what do we need to do to get you to 850? And there are some strategies that we can use with our credit to help build that, to get it to that point. I have clients that will say, well, I've been at 750 and it doesn't go any higher. Well, we can look at a couple of things to see why it's not moving, but making sure that you have installment and revolving, the mix of things, making sure that you're under utilization, at least under 30% utilization on everything. I would say save under 20%. That way, you're protected. Make sure you're paying your bills on time so that you don't get dinged, especially on your credit cards. If you're at a limit of 3,000, don't go over 3,000 because there's a ding right there. You can take off major points. If you're late on your credit card, 31, 35 days, there are 60 points that can come off. So just remember that all the things that you can do to build your credit, you can also hurt your credit by not doing the things that you need to do, like paying on time and making sure that you understand what you have out there, checking your credit regularly, and making sure that you're taking care of anything that has come on, dispute anything that's not yours, making sure that you stay on top of whatever you have. So set goals for that, know your score, make sure that you're able to walk that walk and do that talk. So when you walk into a bank or a CDFI, you have what you're confident, you're not nervous, and you can spew out what you want to do. Make sure that whatever you're going in for, that you have listed out the purpose for every dollar that you're going to borrow, and make sure that it's spent on exactly what you're getting that loan for. Okay. Now, I know we have short time, so I'm going to turn it over to Jim, but I'm BC Clark with the Nebraska Enterprise Fund, and I'll throw my additional information in chat. If you have questions, we are in Nebraska. We have the whole state of Nebraska and Southwest Iowa. Jim will tell you more about the CDFI. Jim, you want to take it away?
Yeah, great. Thanks, BC. And actually, I don't have a whole lot more to tell about a CDFI after Alan went. He did a great job over in Colorado, partner of ours, Colorado Enterprise Fund. So he said a lot of the pieces. One thing I wanted to talk a little bit about is, let me back up 1 second. NEF, like BC said, serves the whole state of Nebraska, both urban and rural, from coast to coast, so to speak, as well as Southwest Iowa. We serve 6 of the counties in Southwest Iowa, so super happy to be there. We do lending, both gap financing, direct lending, and invoice financing. We did do PPP loans as well. And we also do coaching. BC leads our charge in coaching and our charge in training. And that's one thing that's super important that people underestimate. And so I'm going to talk about that in a second, but I'm going to talk about some of the C's. You'd heard from BC, the first C is character. Character matters, and more than people realize. Credit score is one of the things that matters to a character. Is my credit score in a good spot? Am I taking care of the problem loans I have? Am I doing the right things to take care of my business? Other things, though, about character is if I ask for something and somebody takes 3 months to get me something, that tells me about the character. It tells me, oh, okay, this person may or may not be super responsive. If I'm a banker and somebody wants to fight about what a business plan looks like, or if they even need a business plan, that tells me a little bit of a character. So think about that when you think about building a relationship. This is all building into character. As soon as you walk in the bank, you're trying to build that character. You want them to want to invite you back. The second thing I think we underestimate is just the capacity. Okay, what experiences, maybe you're starting a new business, super. What experiences have you had? Have you managed a business? Have you done accounting for another business? What capacities are you bringing in that are going to augment your startup phase? What are your skill levels? Maybe you've been through university. Maybe you've been through a specific course, a specific quality training program, or something that brings in that extra capacity. One of the best loans we did about 7 years ago now, they were told no for various reasons. One person was a retired police officer, another person was a retired military firefighter. And we couldn't figure out why they were told no, because they wanted to go into the security business. They were able to demonstrate to us that they had all the capacity you ever would need to run a security business. They had more than 20 years management leadership skills. They had security experience. They had fire experience, safety experience. So build on what's your capacity? What have you been doing in your skill set? Even somebody young maybe says, "Oh, what am I an expert in?" You're an expert in something. So make sure that you bring in that capacity to play when you're looking into borrowing and into loans, securing capital. Third thing, and this is almost always underestimated, is cash flow. And I've seen way too many cases where people come in, and we had one, it was several years ago, so I think I can talk about it without naming anything, but it was a food truck. And they had did some cash flow projections. They came to us and they asked for a loan, but their cash flow demonstrated that their projected sales was going to be less than their break-even point. We want to help everybody, but it's hard to give a loan to somebody that is projecting a negative cash flow. And just a moment, please. Sorry. So that cash flow really matters. And that making sure we have cash flow. And honestly, when I look at a loan, that's the first thing I look at is what's your break-even point and how much more are you able to make above that break-even point? Because to me, as a lender, I'll be honest, I need to get repaid. But everything above that break-even point, that's all gravy for you. So if you have a break-even point of 100 and you make 150, that break even, everything above that 100 is gravy. That's your profit. That's your excess.
It looks like Jim froze on us, no problem. BC, do you want to continue? Perfect. Can you unmute yourself for us? That would help us. Thank you so much.
Sorry about that. We're on different network here, so I think that he just kind of froze up. He'll probably pop in as I start talking. I think he was done with the cash flow. But on an investment, just I think making sure that you own who you are and what you do. And don't be afraid to make sure that those achievements are known, but then being able to have that good character and things that Jim talked about in order to move forward with what you're doing. And with small businesses, I'm telling you, it's our hardest work because we really, really love working with them. And sometimes when they come to us, they're broken. They've heard the wrong things, or people have said, "Oh, you can't do something." But our goal is to, if they can do it, to bring that potential out and to be able to make sure that they have the education and the support that they need to make that happen. And that's where Jim was going with this. And so I think that when we sum it all up, we want to make sure that we are there to support our small businesses, to be that extra arm that they need to get that education to them, which is critical. And we've seen it over and over. When they have the information, they're able to be more successful. And so that's really our wheelhouse, is making sure they get the right training, that we're there technically to help them, that we're there to support in whatever their needs are, and be able to see them grow and be what they need to be. And we do that through Nebraska Enterprise Fund. So Jim looked like we lost him altogether, but I know our time was up. So I want to just say thank you from both of us. We're excited to be here. And if you have any questions, I did put my information in the chat and I can contact Jim through that. So if you want to just send it to me, that'll be wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you so much, BC. We're so excited to have you here, and thank Jim for us. Just a question that came up here. Is there a best practice strategy that you might suggest to just kind of making sure that you're building your credit on the right trajectory?
Yes. And I would say the first thing before anything, you have to know what's on it. So get a copy of your credit report. When you get that copy, and if you don't understand it, I mean, you can call anybody. Call me. That'd be great. But because what I normally do is, that's the first thing I say. Let's look and see what we have and what we should do. And I want to make sure that people don't feel really embarrassed or anything like that. Just come. I think Theodo's talked about being honest. Yes, just come, and we need to see what it is. If it's gravel there, let's get the gravel out of the way so we can get to the actual dirt of it and make sure that we get it taken care of. So get a copy of that report, and then find out what's on it. And from there, we can begin to know which way and what strategy we need to use. And we want to set some SMART goals to make sure that we're building it. And then whatever we need to do to make sure we have that mix of credit that we need so that our score stays active and continues to grow higher.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That's all we have now. I'm going to turn it back over to Belinda. And so we can just wrap up with a few council things. I want to thank all of our speakers for participating and giving our MBEs all of this information.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, BC. If you all will just give me just 2 minutes, I promise you I will have you out of here and off this virtual. Again, on behalf of the Mountain Plains Minority Supplier Development Council, we want to thank Alan Ramirez from the Colorado Enterprise Fund, Stephen Wright from the SBA, Small Business Administration, Theodis Watson from Central Bank, as will be called moving forward, and BC Clark and Jim Ray out of the state of Nebraska with the Nebraska Enterprise Fund. Also want to thank Team Council, Stan Center, our President and CEO, Brittany Westware, our Regional MBE Services Manager, and April Burdick for participating in today's virtual session. Let me just quickly share with you, we got a couple of things coming up. April, if you would share those slides quickly that we have coming up. Our Business Opportunity Exchange, save the date. That's right, it's coming up for September 16th. We have been working on this particular program. It will start at 9 a.m. We're trying to shorten the time period, so we have you off the virtual opportunity. It is called Uncapping the Opportunity, and we're looking for that, just as we have shared today, the wealth of information from our presenters. Coming up at the end of the year, we are going to have our award ceremony. It is going to be in December. And so what we are looking for now, if you have a supplier that you're working with that is certified with the council, a corporation of the year we're looking for, an advocate of the year, we're looking for as well. So we will be giving out awards this year in December. It's an event you do not want to miss. Next slide, April. Effigy. Effigy is one of our corporate members. They are here where I am right now in the KSMO area. We have an upcoming event in terms of access opportunity with Effigy, and it is scheduled for Tuesday, August 17th. This is virtual, so you can just sit right there at your computer, participate. This is one of the few events that we've had with Effigy this year. So we are very excited to bring Effigy to the table for our access opportunity event. The Minority Business Enterprise Input Committee, which is a subcommittee of the Council's Board of Directors, they are having this year the virtual MBE All Hands Forum. You do not want to miss this. This is scheduled for Wednesday, August 25th. We have so much going on. I've got to lean in and look at the dates. But this is scheduled for August 25th. You see our guest speaker that will be sharing, Isaac Wambuka. Did I pronounce that right? Wambua?
Wambua.
Wambua. Thank you so much, Brittany. It's so important to pronounce people's names correctly. So register for that particular. That is scheduled for Wednesday, August 25th as part of the MBELC All Hands Forum. Next slide. The Centers of Excellence. April and I were just on a call this morning. This is being brought to you by Cargill, our national corporate member, as well as United Airlines, that's helping to sponsor this particular program. This is for our Class 2. So for those of you on the line, in case you are not aware, the council certifies, advocates, develops, and connects, right? We've been doing this, and Stan, correct me, those on the call, I think for 47, 48 years. It's gone by so fast of the council. But the Centers of Excellence will work with our Class 2 MBEs. Those are MBEs who generate in revenue from 1 to 10 million in sales. This program is scheduled to kick off on September 14th. We are looking for mentees, those minority suppliers. So if you are interested in being a part of the Centers of Excellence program, if you would please contact either myself or April, we will make sure that you get connected accordingly. Next slide. The MB University, and Brittany, what do you say, MBEU? We're bringing it to you. This is being brought to you by not only the University of Nebraska, Denver Public Schools, the Whites Foundation, and Gilmore Construction, as well as United Airlines regarding the MBE University. This is being brought in terms of for our MBEs that are in Class 1, those who generate a 0 to $1 million in sales. Again, if you are interested in participating in the MBE University, please contact either April or Brittany, and we'll make sure that you get the information that you need to be considered a part of this program. Next slide. Social media, thank April, and to the team, William King, Brandon Butler, and Luki Song, who are all a part of the social media. Find us and follow us on Facebook, Twitter. What else do we have? The website. April does a great job in keeping all of the information posted. If you haven't seen our information, please make sure that you are tapped in to the council, connected in. Next slide. And here's Meet the Team. I know you've been waiting for this one. So you've already met Stan, myself. Of course, you've heard from Brittany and April, but we do have new folks on the team. Andre Hargrave has been named the director of the Denver MBDA Business Center. Randy McCall is the assistant to the director. Marvin Lyman, who is the business development and corporate relations manager, as well as the director for the coronavirus response and relief grant as well. And then Stella Marimbe, she is in our Denver office, a business consultant for the MBDA. Liz Ojeda will be working on the corporate relations piece. And then Brandon Butler is the administrative coordinator for the Coronavirus Response and Relief Act. Here's our board of directors. All of the board members headed by Robert Kunze with Excel Energy can be found on the council's website, but wanted to let you know our board is comprised of individuals who represent the 4 markets of the council: Colorado, Nebraska, Kansas, and Western Missouri. Here is the MBEIC team. I did see Jamie Gutierrez. I was trying to see some of the folks on the call. Thank you so much, but this is headed by Dee Arnold from Worldwide Technology, and you'll see the members. The MBEIC team is responsible for representing the MBEs within our 4-state region. And I've already mentioned that they're going to have the MBE All Hands Forum on August 25th. You do not want to miss that event. Thank you for that. And so thank you. We couldn't have had this type of event without your participation. So we want to thank you on behalf of the council for spending today, this Tuesday, August 3rd with us. We hope that you will join us at the next council event. All events can be found on the council's website. We hope that you have a wonderful, safe, and continuous prosperous day. And we look forward to seeing you at the next virtual event. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.